Today, we received a lot of plums and would like to make a simple sauce. First, wash these green plums a little and soak them in water for about 3 hours. After soaking these in water and removing the scum, I remove the seeds and freeze them once. I make many things with UME work, but many of them take a lot of time and effort. However, this time I would like to do an arrangement of these green plums that is very easy to make. These are once frozen green plums that have been thawed and dried. I have thoroughly wiped off the water. I will use this to make the sauce, but what I will make is UME miso. This sauce is made by simply combining UME plum and miso. We will use this miso. You will need about the same amount of miso and UME plum. I had some miso that I was about to use, but the amount of this miso and the amount of UME plum were about the same, so I will use this miso and add all of the UME plum. This way. This brown rice malted rice miso is from the usual Miso miso honpo. Usually, UME juice is prepared in bottles, but this time, we want to mix it in the middle of the process, so we will first prepare it in an appropriate plastic container. It is better to sterilize the container properly. The liquor in this container is shochu. Shochu has a high alcohol content, so it is a disinfectant, and since it is food, you can use it without any problem. When we make miso, we often use shochu as a disinfectant. There are many ways to disinfect, but using shochu is very convenient. It is easily available, and there is no problem even if you eat it, so we use shochu. We also disinfect the lid tightly. And when the lid is disinfected, we put miso paste at the bottom of the pot. At the bottom of the bowl, put down miso paste. After laying miso appropriately, put plums there. It is easier to fill with jars or other containers, but since you will be mixing it occasionally after this, use a container that is easy to mix. After preparing, when a lot of liquid comes out and it becomes nice and thick, you can replace it with the container of your choice. You can alternate putting them in like this. When I make something with plums, I often make plum syrup and plum wine or something like that, but when I make something like that, I usually find sugar in the recipe. Of course, adding sugar makes it more preservative and sweeter, but I don't want to use as much sugar as possible, so this time I would like to prepare UME miso without any sugar at all. It is good enough as it is sweet enough and delicious enough. The reason why is because I am using sweet miso. If you use a spicy tasting miso, you may need to add a little sugar, but if you use a sweet type of miso itself, it will be sweet enough. In this case, I used miso that would taste sweet even if eaten as is. If you want to make it a little sweeter, add some mirin. This mirin has such a dark color. This is the original color of mirin. It is a long-aged, Honjozo mirin. I added 2 tablespoons of mirin. I make sure it is spread all over. At first, there is no water at all, so it looks like it is not pickled at all, but soon water comes out from the plums and it becomes like a liquid. At the preparation stage, it is no problem if it looks like this. This is how it is prepared. It is really very easy, isn't it? Buy a large quantity of green plums available at this time of the year, wash and soak them in water to remove the scum. Then divide them into small portions and freeze them once. The reason why we freeze them is because freezing breaks down the UME tissue, making it easier for the flavor to soak in. Therefore, we freeze them once. Then, thaw, dry thoroughly, blot dry, and remove the hefty part tightly. If you don't remove the hefty part, it will taste bitter, so please remove the hefty part thoroughly. All that remains is to mix your favorite miso paste with the plums and set aside. You can use whatever miso you like, but we recommend that it be naturally brewed, aged for a long time, and sweet in flavor. After this, I will show you how it will look like after a couple of days. It looks like this. This is UME miso after about 3 days. I changed the container. The container was too big, so I replaced it, but it might still be a little too big. When I put it in a container half the size of this one, it fermented and started to get pukey, so it rose up and overflowed the container. So the water comes out, and because the temperature is warm at the time of year, it gets alcoholic fermentation. Because the miso is alive, it easily undergoes alcoholic fermentation. As it expands as the alcohol ferments, it is best to use a container with a generous capacity. This is an enameled container, but something like this is good. It has been only about 3 days since I prepared the plums, but the water has come out from the plums and they have become nice and thick. I leave this at room temperature for a long time. It is fine to mix it in once in a while when you feel like it. It is not necessary to mix them, but if you check on them from time to time, the plums will gradually dissolve or blend into the water, and after a year or half a year, they will become a single piece of sludge. I will leave this at room temperature for 6 months to a year. There are many ways to use it. It is delicious just by dipping vegetables in it. You can eat it on cucumbers, put it on tofu, put it on rice, or use it in cooking. This miso has a slight umami flavor, so it is recommended if you want to create an elegant look. So, this time we prepared umami miso. Please look forward to the next video.